What's up YouTube, Capital G here, talking about and showing you guys this absolute beauty and magnificent gem of a dinosaur-based stun deck that actually got first place in an OCG tournament. I was just talking about a couple of days ago on this channel how they don't really build decks in the OCG, they just take Numeron and throw in a bunch of staples and engines and call it a day, and it looks like at least one player in the OCG with a whole lot of spirit and some ingenuity was like, Cap G, shut up, I'll show you who can't build a deck. And he came up with this just really creative deck that is, I think, just absolutely phenomenal and really just a breath of fresh air. So first off, dinosaur being moved towards being a stun deck. This is really interesting because in the TCG we don't have this. I'm actually in the Dino Duelist Facebook group, and all those dudes do is meme about how they just constantly destroy baby Ceratosaurus over and over again, which, by the way, you guys might notice right off the bat, there is no baby Ceratosaurus. There is no Oviraptor in this deck. There is no Lost World. Basically, there are no combo starters in this deck. This is not a combo deck, so that is like incredibly refreshing to see. Not just taking dinosaurs in a new direction, but not really relying on any type of those little puny Halifyrax combos, despite the fact that Halifyrax is technically in here, but we ain't gonna talk about him. This is really interesting, and obviously you guys can see this is a stun-based deck. Now, I do not consider this to be a control-based deck. Of course, there are, major differences between combo, control, and then finally stun. A stun deck, in my opinion, is a deck that really isn't so focused on using single pieces of disruption, whether those be traps or hand traps, which you'll also notice there are 0 hand traps in this build. Stun decks are basically, and I know this might sound negative, there are decks that just want to floodgate you out of the duel. There are decks that want to put a certain condition in the duel that basically says, you don't have access to this mechanic or to doing this. Can you beat me when your deck doesn't work as you want it to work? And some of the obvious floodgates in here are cards like Skill Drain. You guys know, it's basically my favorite trap in Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't need to talk about Skill Drain. I always think that it's incredibly exciting when we see Skill Drain pop up in these OCG builds, whether it's Rank 10 Trains or even El Dorado. It's kind of sad that like so many of these powerful floodgate defensive cards, we just don't have them in the TCG, or we don't have like the same numbers. But you got Skill Drain being maxed out at 3, which I've never seen this before. You dinosaur players and dinosaur fans, you tell me, have you ever seen a competitive dinosaur build? And I mean, I'm talking about like within the last era or so of Yu-Gi-Oh! Don't go back to like GX or something, but have you guys really seen a Skill Drain dinosaur deck? I mean, I guess hypothetically, you could run like the new fossil cards, like you could run the new Jim Cook cards with Skill Drain because they mainly just kind of activate in the graveyard, so I could see that. You got 3 copies of Macrocosmos. This is something that would just make a dinosaur player say, Cap G, this is heresy. What are you talking about? How are we gonna pull off our combos if the baby Ceratosaurus is being banished? But again, there is no baby Ceratosaurus in this deck. Macrocosmos is still an excellent disruptive card against most of the decks in the meta, because to be honest, no one really likes having their monsters go to the banish zone. No one likes not being able to use their monster reborn effects or have any utility from getting those monsters back and stuff like that. And in this deck specifically, I mean, most dinosaur decks play Giant Rex, but this deck is playing 3 copies of freaking Giant Rex, so there's so much synergy. This is almost like a pseudo GX era where DD Survivor plus Macrocosmos or D Fissure was super powerful because it was just hard to kill. You could tribute it for monarchs and stuff like that. This is kind of like maybe a new age version of that. Your opponent has Giant Rex and Macrocosmos, you kill the Rex, and it's not really a problem because they just summon another one. And then look at this magnificent beauty. We haven't seen this in years in the TCG. You got to go back to the Zexal era to remember the last time that we saw Kaiser Coliseum doing its thing competitively. And look, even I'll just admit this. Kaiser Coliseum plus Inspector Board, that's actually cancer. Like, seriously, you ain't doing nothing. Inspector Border, by the way, would be, in my opinion, the 4th major floodgate, because let's be real, it's not a speller trap, but Inspector Border is like basically a floodgate monster. Inspector Border plus Kaiser Coliseum, oh my goodness, you're not gonna have any fun at that point. But I like the fact that you have the dinosaur element, because if you look at this build, you got 3 copies of Conductor Tyranno, you've got 3 copies of Giant Rex, maxing out on 3 copies of Double Evolution Pill. So clearly, this guy is not really looking to hard draw Ultimate Conductor Tyranno and just summon it normally. It looks like mainly he just wants to summon it from the deck with the Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, and then multiple copies of Dinosaur Pegatrops, which we also don't have this in the TCG. But then you have some kind of outside the box. You have some outside the box choices like the Kamungus, being the one kaiju in here. Interesting enough, I'm not exactly sure why this was chosen over Gamecill. My main thing is, I guess if you do Gamecill your opponent and you don't kill it, sometimes your own Gamecill can be a problem to like attack over, because it has that 3000 booty. I guess with Kamungus, your opponent wouldn't have that option. Like, let's just say you gave your opponent a kaiju, the Gamecill, and then your opponent was able to, protect it for a turn. They might park it in defense mode, and you might not be able to kill it. And at least with this deck, you could have Beast King with like a skill drain, which is 3000, and you would be able to attack over the Kamungus. So it's not something that would hold you up. 3 copies of Dark World Dealings. I'm not gonna. It took me kind of a while to understand this, and quite frankly, I probably still don't understand it. I mean, definitely seems like a good way to get something like Giant Rex into the graveyard, because we know that Giant Rex is just probably going to be used as fodder for Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, or I guess technically if you have Macrocosmos up and you discard Giant Rex for Dark World Dealings, you basically just get to summon it. So I guess it technically kind of works there. You still have a lot of trap cards that are not floodgates, and oh baby, this deck feels so retro, man. I mean, going back to 5 copies of Solemns in the deck, or 5 different Solemn cards. This takes me back to the old like Solemn Brigades when we had multiple Solemn Judgments. Well, I mean, we have them now, but you guys have to know Solemn Judgment was banned for forever. And then times when we had 3 copies of Warning and Strike, and it seems like every Solemn card it's hit the FNL list at one point. But to have this many powerful Solemns, even in a format in the OCG, or a section of Yu-Gi-Oh where they do have Harpy's Feather Duster, which you see here, and Triple Lightning Storm, I'm not sure that you have to be all that concerned if you have 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. It seems like you'd have a good amount of ways to disrupt your opponent, and not to mention if your opponent is attacking your back row, what exactly is going to kill the Inspector Border? Because again, so many combo decks in the game, this card can actually just be a win condition. Now, I'm still not certain about like the rulings with like kaijus and Kaiser Coliseum, and who can you kaiju them when you have that on the field, just because it was never a thing that we had to deal with in the TCG, because they did kind of ban Kaiser Coliseum around the time that we got the kaijus in, or I think it may have even been before, but I would like to see how those rulings actually work. We also have Pot of Extravagance, just kind of like standard in Dinosaurs, because they don't really use their extra deck, and I know you guys see that there's 12 cards. Look, I'll level with you guys. I have the picture of the deck right here. I don't know what the hell this card is. I'll just be honest. I don't know what this card is. I thought it was a 10-Yi card, is not. If one of you guys know what that Link Monster is, like, please tell me, but I don't know what that card is. That's why it's not here. And then obviously, like, the only real thing that matters in the extra deck is basically going to be like the Evolzers, like Lagia, Doka. Those are probably the only cards that he's actually going to make, and that is if he happens to get double Giant Rex on the field. But I really like something like this. I mean, I know a lot of people may not like dueling against so many floodgates. Stun is a deck that it's really fun when you're playing it, but a lot of people, Cap G, all you want to do is skill drain and Macrocosmos me out of the duel, or Kaiser Coliseum, etc., etc. But I like seeing people build decks from the ground up. I mean, we've seen many dinosaur builds and we've seen them be successful, but I don't remember us seeing anything like this, at least in the last few years, where you're taking dinosaur players and they're like, how can we turn this from a combo deck into just a pure outright stun deck? Now, it is a shame, unfortunately, that we won't really be able to play this deck in the TCG. Like, I just don't think that this translates into the TCG, because, we'd have to take out double copies of, Kaiser Coliseum. Maybe you could argue we could replace Feather Duster with maybe like a Lightning Storm, but then to only have 1 copy of Skill Drain and 1 copy of Macrocosmos, like, I don't even think that's going to work. Maybe you could find something else for the second copy of Down Wrestle Pankatrops, like maybe another copy of Beast King Barbaros. But in these decks in the OCG where they play like triple macro and triple skill drain, one copy is just not going to do it. Like, these cards are just so powerful against a lot of the meta and against the combo decks. And I mean, Skill Drain's even good against like other control decks. That's what I love about Skill Drain. It's not just good against combo, but even like decks like Guru and stuff, you flip over Skill Drain against them, okay, you're basically playing a deck where your only monster effect, Guru, like doesn't even work anymore. Well, I guess maybe can you activate it with Final Battle? Maybe. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. Whatever you guys think about this Jurassic stun deck, you leave that in the comment section below. Yeah, I said that deck building was dead in the OCG. Turns out there are still a few duelists out there who have not fallen to the debauchery that is Numeron, and more power to them. Konami, can we please get some of these damn cards to 3? Like, seriously? Skill Drain and Macro Cosmos, can we get some of these like cards? Dimensional Fissure, these floodgates like should not be at 1 in the TCG. Anyways, whatever you guys think, you leave that in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.